morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Hello. My name is Chris, and today I'll be talking to you about my joint ventures. What are I'm going to be talking to you about my joint ventures, and then I'll be talking to you about going into deep discussion about what all is a joint venture, what two joint ventures I chose, and why did I choose them, and were they successful or unsuccessful, and then I'll give you a conclusion at the end. And then if y'all have any questions, y'all can go ahead and feel free to ask. What is a joint venture? A joint venture is when two companies join together to form one product or to produce one service for one person or for multiple people. Let's say, like, for example, Land Rover and Jaguar, they're both very popular car manufacturers that you can't find. Like here in Torreon, we don't have a Land Rover or a Jaguar companies. We have to go all the way to Monterey, Dallas, or anywhere else that's very populated here. General Motors, does anybody know what General Motors is?
Yes.
Yeah.
What is General Motors?
They make cars. Well, pieces of cars.
Okay, what kind of cars?
Ford.
Chevrolet? Ford? Anybody else?
GMC. No?
GMC?
Like almost every car.
General Motors is Chevrolet. That's mostly what they go for. Ford is just Ford. Henry Ford was the creator of Ford cars. So. And then, does anybody know what happened to Scion recently?
No.
They went out of business. Scion does not exist anymore in the U.S. or anywhere else actually. So one of the joint ventures, this isn't mine, but this is just an example. One of the joint ventures was Scion. Scion went out of service, and they came out with a Scion FRS. That's a specialty car that many people don't really know. But the Toyota company bought Scion, and they continue to produce the same car called the BRZ from Subaru. So now Toyota pretty much is like Scion. So what successful joint venture did I choose? I chose Nokia. Does anybody know what Nokia is?
Yes.
Does anybody know if they're still around or if they don't exist anymore?
They still exist,
Still around.
but now with Windows or something like that.
Smartphones, Windows, okay. And you're right. Nokia was a famous cellular provider back in the 1900s. They came out with the very first phones. Some of the very first phones that were pretty much indestructible. You can drop them anywhere. But if you were to drop your phone right now, it would crack into a million pieces. And does anybody know what Siemens AG is? Siemens AG is a popular technology industry producer. They provide a lot of, how can I say this? They provide a lot of communication development for many people around for cellular data. Like your provider, Telcel, Usacell, and everything like that. They're huge telecommunications producers. Joint venture. This joint venture was produced and announced in June 19th of 2006. They wanted to provide a faster and more reliable telecommunications for anybody around the market. Nokia and Siemens AG. Siemens AG bought Nokia for around $2.2 million, or $1 billion actually, and that was only for half of the goods for Nokia. They didn't buy the whole thing. They wanted to become innovative, creative, and supportive towards their joint venture. The joint venture of theirs was to be better, if not equal to AT&T, Apple, Samsung, and everything like that. They wanted to be the same as them. Does anybody know what LTE is? LTE is not really popular here in Mexico, but in the US, LTE is the fastest internet provider you can have. AT&T LTE, that's really fast internet. It's faster than 4G. They created a broadband for new services for the Wi-Fi year round, the tech. Noticed that there's a lot of Wi-Fi here, and they need to provide better broadband so that more than 10 computers can log into the same Wi-Fi and be able to expand their information. The joint venture was to promote faster growth revenue and to provide low cost. So they try to use as many resources as they had to provide the best, fastest internet provider they can get. And they became more innovative than their customers. They were able to create a lot of bandwidth in a small compact device to provide faster telecommunications. Does anybody have any questions about my first joint successful venture?
No.
Now I'll be moving on to my unsuccessful joint venture. My unsuccessful joint venture was Tiffany Co. Does anybody know what Tiffany Co. is? Without looking at that? Okay. Tiffany Co. is a very popular jewelry store in the US, and I don't know if there's any jewelry Tiffany Co. here, but they're very popular. They sell a lot of watches, they sell a lot of jewelry, and they sell a lot of rings. They're a jewelry store. Does anybody know what Swatch is? Okay. Does anybody know what kind of what kind of brands that Swatch makes?
I don't know what Swatch is.
Swatches is a very popular brand that came out in the year, I believe, 1890s. It's like a watch that you wear, but you just wear the brand. It's like Swiss watch. Do you know what that is? No? Swiss watch.
I don't know much about what.
Swiss watch is just like Calvin Klein. It's just a brand that people in Russia and Switzerland made. And as you can see here, it was founded in 1837. Tiffany & Co. was founded in 1837. It was a goods emporium. That's where you could store your inventory and you could store anything you needed there. It was pretty much a storage room. And in 1983, through the merger of Switch watchmakers in Alsog and Sid, Swatch was created. It's just another brand that anybody can just show off to have. It's very popular in the US. The joint venture began in 2007, and in December 21st, 2011, they decided that they were going to sue. If I'm correct, they wanted to sue Swatch for not being able to provide or carry out their. How can I say this? They weren't able to. I don't want to make anybody confused, but they were gonna get sued because they weren't providing enough information or enough watches to other distributors around their economy or around their markets. With that being said, the business venture that they created was to provide more revenue, more tax exemptions, and more money towards their companies. But because of them not being able to provide to other carriers, the joint venture was pulled away, and they went to court because they couldn't carry out the business plan that they had already established. Since they didn't proceed the way the contract was planned, they went to court. They failed. They had to pay a fee. The fee was around $448 million, and it was fully paid off for, if I'm not mistaken, in the year 2013. But Tiffany & Co. decided that since they're gonna pull away from Swatch, that they're still gonna provide more and effective ways to sell their own watches, so that they can be in the same market as Swatch and beat them out of the market. Any questions?